So today I'm going to teach you about annotating. Annotating is possibly the most important skill you can learn when it comes to reading because it's going to really help you to absorb and pay attention and really comprehend what it is that you're reading. So let's get started. So what exactly is annotating? Annotating is the act of making a note in any form while you're reading, okay? But I want to make it clear that it's not underlining and highlighting everything you read. Your book should not look like a rainbow with all of these different colors. If your textbook or your novel or whatever it is that you're annotating in has more highlighting in it than the text, then you're not doing it right. All right. Don't highlight everything. That's pointless. Okay. And you definitely don't want to highlight something and not make a note about why you highlighted it. There's got to be a reason why you thought that was important and make a note about why. Okay. Actively annotate. We'll get to that about what that means. So here's why annotating is important. First thing it does is it slows the reader down. Okay? And by slowing you down, this promotes active reading. Active reading is when you are taking part in the book. You're becoming an active participant. You are paying attention to what is going on. By being an active reader, you are going to improve your reading and writing comprehension because, surprise, reading and writing go together. If you become a good reader, then you're going to become a good writer. Stephen King has a great quote about this, and I'm going to get it wrong, but you'll get the idea. He says, if you want to become a good writer, then you have to read a lot of books, right? So, improving writing skills, you need to be able to read. You have to read a lot. So by becoming an active reader and improving those reading and writing comprehension skills, you're going to be able to make deeper connections with what's going on. We're talking about text-to-text connections where you can connect the book that you're reading with other books that you've read. Because you're paying a closer attention, you're going to be able to realize, hey, this sounds like that what happened to this character in that book, because you're remembering things a lot clearer. Or you're going to be able to make text to self connections, or something in the book you go, hey, ooh, that makes me think of what happened to me such and such a time, or I can really understand the emotions of what this character is going through. Or maybe you're making text to world connections, where what's going on in this book is reminding you of something that's happening in the world right now, or something that happened in the world in the past. All right. So those are those connections: text to self, or text to world. So there's a few tools that you need to have when you annotate. The first one is, I like to have these flags, okay, in different colors. And yes, I like to have at least 5 of them. All right. Next thing you need is a handy pencil or pen, because as I said, whenever you highlight something, which I'll get to highlighters in a second, or flag something, you need to write it down. And that leads me to highlighters. You need to have at least one highlighter, although I like to have multiple highlighters. A student once told me I used to tell them just one highlighter, but he liked to have a highlighter to match each of the flags. Okay? And then a post-it note, because sometimes the margins are really narrow. I like to write directly into my book, but if the margins are really narrow, then you need post-it notes to make your notes on them. So while you are reading, there are 3 points that you'll want to keep in mind. The first thing you do is focus. What I mean by that is read just a few paragraphs at a time, all right? That helps you to really focus on what's happening in the story. Read those few paragraphs and then pause and think about what's happening. Now, I understand how a really good book, you can get absorbed in it and suddenly you're 100 pages in and oh my gosh, the action is so good and you don't know what happened. 3 hours have passed, it's 3 a.m. and the book is over. What? Okay, no. When you're annotating, you need to make yourself pause and stop and think about what's going on. You have to focus, right? And that makes you go to the next step, which is stop. Okay. Sometimes you have to go back and reread and check for understanding. Something I found interesting is I didn't realize how often I actually do this until someone told me, hey, you know what? Well, you do a lot of traveling. Have you ever read audiobooks? I went, no. Okay, I'll give it a try. And I got so frustrated because I'm reading these audiobooks and there was no way to pause and flip back a few pages to reread something. I couldn't rewind and re-listen. And I was like, wait a minute, what just happened there? Or wait, I think I read something like that a few pages ago. Right? So you need to stop and reread something. Or maybe you had a question that you had made a note of a few chapters ago and now, oh, there's the answer. That's the answer to that question. And so now you need to go back and answer it, right? So stop every once in a while and check to make sure you understand what's going on. Because sometimes books get confusing, especially ones with tricky plots. And then this kind of goes back to what I said earlier, where, it's 3 a.m., you've been reading all night because that book is amazing. Remember, slow down. It's not a race to the end. You're not going to get a prize for being the first one done with the book. Okay? You're actually going to get a better grade and do better if you go slow. Think about it that way. You're going to do better if you slow down, take your time, and make sure you understand what's going on. All right. So, here's some things to keep in mind. Really super important. Every time you highlight or put one of these flags in there, you have to make a note as to why you did that. Truly. I don't know how many times I've gone back and reread a book. I'm like, why did I highlight this? What? Okay. It's going to be confusing when you're going back to reviewing it later, especially if I give you an assignment that's like, okay, go back now and look for quotes related to. It's going to be so easy when you're flipping through now and you're looking for pink flags related to character. Oh, I'm just going to flip through and look for those pink flags. Or find a quote about world building. Oh, I'm looking for those green flags. Okay? And then you're going to also look at those notes that find something that tells me about character and where they were struggling to do such and such. Now I've got all of those notes written down. Okay? And it's okay to go back and check your notes. If you need help understanding something, remember maybe you had that question from earlier and now you have the answer. Excellent. Now, also make connections. If you had a question earlier, remember to go back and write in the notes and answer it. Or if you find a connection where like it's a murder mystery, oh, that was the foreshadowing back there. Make a note of that. All of those things are good things to note in your story. So let's take a look at the actual annotation guide and what it is you're looking for. So all of the colors that are on the side here, the left-hand side, are referring to these little flag colors. And if you're like me, those also refer to the highlighter colors. Okay? And I like to find fun, fancy highlighters. These are in the shape of candies. Are they cool? Unfortunately, they don't smell. Okay, so the first flag is pink, which is that second one. And that is going to be your character. So whenever you see something in the passage that is going to, for example, be description of the character or how the character is brought to life by the author, maybe it's showing direct or indirect characterization or how they are reacting to a situation or other characters, how they're making that character distinct from other characters, that sort of thing, you're going to mark the passage with a pink flag. See how I have a flag sticking out of the side of the book? And highlight it. And then also remember to write in the margins. I'm going to show you all of this in a second. If you don't have room in the margins, you can write it on a post-it note. The next one is green for world building or setting. So whenever there's descriptive phrases that reveal information about the world, you're going to mark that with a green flag. Now remember, setting is not just like the place that they live in, like the physical world. It's also the season, the time of the day, the weather, the atmosphere. But also something to keep in mind, setting also means the cultural world. So, for example, education, government, religion, how people interact as far as their morals and values. That all is part of the setting and the world building. Something to think about. Blue is your plot development. So anything that you see that could be related to the plot or the conflict, put a blue flag in there. So if you see something that you think, ooh, this might be foreshadowing, this might be a hint of something to come, maybe a character's secret identity is revealed, maybe we're introduced to a new character, anything that is moving the story forward, go ahead and mark that. A yellow flag is going to be any sort of figurative language. So personification, similes, metaphors, hyperbole, onomatopoeia, alliteration, allusion, all of those delicious, delicious words. Ooh, I think that might have been a figurative language. Orange are going to be your themes and symbols. All right, these are those things that have that deeper meaning. You might not know what these are at the beginning. Okay, so at the beginning, you might not have a lot of orange flags, but as soon as you start catching on to what these could be, start marking them. Okay. And then any new vocabulary words that you come across, if you have another color besides the 5 flags, go ahead and use that 6th color to start marking vocabulary words. And here's the thing, actually look them up and write the definition in the side, right? Figure it out. Now, I'm a librarian. You would think most librarians would tell you not to do this, but do it, okay? Actually fold down the bottom corner whenever you come across a sentence that's like, oh my God, that sentence is amazing. Look, see, I did it. Fold down the bottom corner whenever you find something that is, wow, that sentence was just beautiful. How did the author come up with that sentence? It's amazing. Like for me, it was this whole poem. This whole poem is just amazing. I think I have another one in here. Yeah, towards the back here, right there. It was just amazing. But of course, I didn't highlight it because I didn't have a highlighter with me. But when you come across one of those, mark it. So that's how the annotation guide works.